Hey guys, today we're going to be installing a HXC USB floppy drive emulator in this Ensoniq VFX SD. Here is a close-up of this drive. This one has the OLED display in it, and we're going to replace this 3.5 floppy here with it. I don't know how to take this floppy drive out or get to it. For starters, we're going to pull these 4 screws out and lift this hood up just so I can get a better look in there. I don't know what size these Allen screws are, but they are Allen screws. Alrighty, looks like the hood needed to come up to be able to lift this panel off of here. So I'm just going to go ahead and guess that there's screws holding this piece on and this piece will lift up. So let's flip this thing over and I'm going to take a guess at what screws are holding this thing in. Alright, let's close this lid and flip this thing over, man. Alright, it looks like these 2 screws and probably these 2 screws. So let's pull these out and that drive plate should lift up. All right, let's flip this back over. All right, and lift the hood again. Yes, shining. If any of you take these Ensoniqs apart, you probably will notice that the hood is real hard to open. And the reason why, I've mentioned this before, is there's an indention here that this piece sits in and it snaps over it. There's a fear you might break something when you lift the lid because it's got tension on it. So you just sort of have to know you're getting over that lip, and with enough pressure, it'll open up. And here we go. Here is the drive. Look at that dust. Got to get that out of here, man. There's the mod wheel, the pitch wheel, and there's the floppy drive we need to take out.
Life ain't what it seems. It ain't no fucking dream. So get a grip up on your shit and make sure your pipe's clean.
All right, I'm going to disconnect the power cable to this drive, and I should be able to flip this whole plate over, or I can get to it easier.
Oh yes, that's what I'm talking about.
Well, man, it looks like we got 2 Phillips here and 2 Phillips over here. So these are what I'm going to be taking out right now. One thing you might want to pay attention to when you're doing this is how far out the factory drive sticks out. This is actually sticking out a little further than my taste. We'll see what it looks like when we put the other drive in. Unplug this. Interesting. Before you do anything with this drive, these holes aren't threaded. So you want to take the screws and get them started. And so you have threads in these holes. So you're not fighting trying to do that stuff with the drive in there. So now these holes are threaded. We can pull these screws back out. Alright, plug this ribbon cable in. Drive goes like this. Wow, the factory floppy is so much bigger than this. Because look at this. Look at that gap. Alright, I'm just going to roll with 4 screws and leave this gap right here. I thought about maybe putting some electrical tape over the gap, but that might look even more ghetto. So I'll just leave the gap there like a vent. There's really nothing else I can do. The 4 screws that are in the drive, I'm going to go ahead and tighten those now. You don't want to forget about your power cable. Pay attention to the pins so you don't bend them. Alright, let's close this lid. Flip it back over while holding the top, and let's put these 4 screws back in.
flip it back over.
Now normally this is where you would want to try it and make sure the drive comes on. I don't have power in here close, so I'm just going to have faith in my work here that it will come on. Okay, next is to replace these 4 hood screws, the Allen screws. I totally forgot I was shooting video with the air conditioner on. That's what all the noise was in the background. Drive is installed and we are done. So let's go check this thing out. Oh my God, I've spent the day pulling my hair out over this thing. So now I'm running out of video time, guys. Here's the drive installed. Kick this baby on. Calibrate, do not touch. The drive is on. These things will only read disk images that are in HFE format. And that's what you need this HXC floppy emulator software for. When you go to this site, you can Google search it also, floppy emulator. This would be one of the top results. Get to this page, it tells you what all is supported, all kinds of devices here, keyboards. I've showed you guys this in another video. I'm gonna show you in this one also. There's SD floppy emulators. A lot of stuff here explaining stuff and how it's put together and all of this stuff. Just keep going, keep going. You'll see firmware somewhere first. You'll finally get the softwares and tools you need. This HXC floppy emulator software right here. Get that, you gotta install it. It'll work on Mac OS or anything. With a Mac, you just drag and drop the application into your applications folder and it should show up on your Mac, you know, where your programs are. HXC floppy emulator. Click on it. This is basically a virtual drive that will mount disk images. You can load a floppy image. You can load a raw image. There's batch converters. Export is you exporting the HFE format, which is what your USB drive reads. These two things here are if you have the drives connected right to the computer. Floppy disk dump, read a real disk, track analyzer. The guys that sell these things, they'll put some blank disk images on one of these thumb drives that you're supposed to be able to use. However, they do not work. Let me just show you that real quick. Over here, this up and down button flips through the discs. Blank disk 1, blank disk 2. All right, let's just put it on blank disk 3. It's reading, flashing says the disk is ready. Here's what happens. Go to storage, disk. Let's just click load. Oh, not a VFX SD disk. Pushing the button to continue. Blah, blah, blah. You might be saying, Hank, you got to format the disk, man. Okay, well, you go to format it. I'm not going to show you all this. You format it, and the thing's going to get buggy then. It's not going to work right, dude. It's going to keep saying drive not ready, throwing errors at you, and all of this stuff. Here's what you have to do to make the thing work, dude. Put your drive in the computer. This is a disk image of Sequencer OS 2.10. With a VFX, you need this because if you hard reset it, the Sequencer OS will be gone. If you want to run this raw IMG file, you got to have it in HFE format. If you load it in here, click load, it'll bring it up here. Let's just double click the OS file. It loaded it and it's telling you this, this, and this. Well, you can hit export like you would normally do on an ASR or something. It's going to export it to HFE. Oh, that's the file I need. But when you do this, it's not even going to recognize it in the drive. It's just going to say disk error. Whatever you throw into this thing is converting. So if you throw a MS-DOS disk into this thing and convert it, the VFX is still not going to read it because it wouldn't read it if you threw that disk in there. It'd have to be formatted, and half of the time this thing won't even read anything. You have to go to load raw image right here, custom disk layout. You need to click on that, and these are all formats that you can format this floppy in, this virtual floppy. We want to go to Ensoniq EPS DD floppy disk 3.5. Now that you have that selected, you need to load a raw file now. Now go over here to your sequencer disk image, double click it. It just loaded it up, raw image, 80 tracks, 2 sides. So this is basically the EPS format of the image I just loaded. Click export. It says raw image. Let's just put in OS HFE file, save. We saved it to desktop over here. Close this out. Our thumb drive that's in here. Double click it. Our EPS formatted OS HFE. drag it over here. I already had it on there. Let's replace it. We have the sequencer operating system on our thumb drive now. Let's eject it, insert it into this. It's reading it. Our list of disks come up. Here's a test HFE file, which was a blank image I created using the EPS format DD. It works. I can save patches and everything. Here's our OS disk. When you select a disk in here, it's like you put that floppy in. That's the disk that it's on. So we got our OS disk in here. Press storage, select disk. We want to load, and oh my God. There it is. It's not saying not a VFX disk, and we can't help you, buddy. We just don't know what the hell you're trying to do. This is everything that's on that sequencer OS disk. If you was to do a factory reset on this thing and your sequencer OS is gone, you just start this thing up, put it on your OS image, right? The underlying thing is what you're selecting. This is stuff that's on the disk. Bring it all the way up. There is your sequencer OS, folks. Yes, loading version 2.10 on this. I'm going to show you real quick how you make your blank floppy. I know this is going fast. You want a blank floppy that you can save your stuff on, okay? HXC floppy emulator, bring it back up, load raw image because we're creating a custom layout, Ensoniq EPS 3.5 DD. Select that. This is our format right here. You just create empty floppy, create that, and then here's your EPS formatted empty floppy in here, and you export. It's going to go to HFE file, which can be read by the drive. I hope you love your hair because I just saved you from pulling all of it out. Let's go over here to my test disk and I'll show you here. Disk, load. This is everything that I put on the disk. It's just stupid stuff that's on here. Now there's nobody giving you any straight HFE files that you can just put in your VFX or SD1, whatever it is you have. What you're probably gonna have to do is, of course, you're gonna have asr-x files, which you can get from various places. I have asr-x librarian, this little star right here. This is just how I send and receive asr-x to this keyboard. As you can see, I got my 2 MIDI cables plugged in. I have a whole bunch of asr-x for this thing. This is all of the VFX stuff I got. You see all of these directories? So let's just see here. What's something we want to load in this thing? SY synth. Okay, here's some synth asr-x banks. Let's do analog. See what that is. Double click it. It's here in our asr-x librarian. Just to make sure your thing is set up right, go over here to MIDI control. Base channel needs to be 1. Click it again to go to the second page. You need to make sure asr-x is on right there. This thing will automatically receive the patch data if it's receiving it. You don't have to press anything here. Go up here to your asr-x librarian. We have analog selected. That's what we want to load. You click play and it's sending this bank information to the VFX. And once this is done, we now have all of those analog from the asr-x bank in here. OBX. And just to prove that the sequencer works that we loaded. Yep. Now that you have the asr-x stuff loaded, you have to go over here to storage. We are on my test disk here. Disk, save. All of this is stuff you could save. You could go through and just save all of this if you want. Yes, we want to save that. It's asking save file. Yes, it's saving. Everything works great. I'm so glad. I was about to return this thing. All right, guys, thanks for hanging out on this VFX SD video. Hopefully this was of some help to you. People have a lot of problems with these drives, and I figured it out. But that's all for now. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next video.